Hey guys, John here. Today we're in Avenger 2, and today we're going to be looking at the shaper module a little bit and also adding some extra distortion to make a patch that sounds something kind of like this. So in a way, it's kind of aggressive, but it's also kind of sexy too, let's be honest here. And it's also on an ARP, so we can turn this off here for now. And if you noticed, on the first oscillator, we don't have the shaper enabled, but on the second one we do, so we can also get a little bit more aggressive sound depending on what we want to do. So for our drums, let's mute this now, and this is pretty much the lead. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this from scratch and kind of rebuild this guy here. So generally, the first thing I did, I liked this saw wave in the beginning, but I do want to push this up an octave, add another oscillator, change this to a square, and leave this one alone. So we have that square saw kind of relationship going, which is just somewhat pleasing. Now, the first time I put the shaper on was going to be this oscillator 2, so the square. Now we can go to our routing, go to plus here. Let's go to our shaper, and generally I like it after the filter, so we can just drag this below the filter like that. And for here, we can start increasing the algo. So this is going to be on soft. And change our frequency. So we have that kind of shape there, or that kind of motion. So how do we want to modulate this a little bit? And for that one, I did use a mod envelope. And I think I brought this down just a little bit, maybe down here to 1, something like that, and kind of just tighten this curve a little bit. And then we just drag and drop here to the frequency, and we can give it some depth. So that's what we have here. Now we can go to the first oscillator again, and then maybe go to plus, add the shaper again, and bring this below the filter. And then we can also see what it sounds like with both, which is also a cool sound, or you can disable this one. And this might be a cool thing to have on a macro button or something like that, if that's what you're interested in. But that's kind of how I had it set up. So we're going to disable this for now. So we have some distortion. What's better than that? Let's add some more distortion. So let's right click here. Let's go to the multiband. And I kind of just want to increase the mids and the highs a little bit. So we have something like this here. Let's right click again, and let's just add our basic distortion. However, we're going to change the algorithm from digital to logic. Now we will lose a little bit of low end on this, but we can always make that up if you want to, maybe another oscillator or something like that. But I do like the tonality this gives with this on here. It makes a lead that's definitely going to cut through whatever mix is going on. And then let's right click, maybe add some compression just in case. Okay, we have something like that. So now maybe we want to go into pitch, and depending on how you want your envelopes to fire, you can either go to mono legato, or we can go to poly legato or portamento. It really depends on what you want to do. But let's try poly portamento maybe for now. So we have that ascending or descending of pitch here. That kind of effect. So let's bring this down a little bit and also maybe increase our curve. Ah, and it gets nasty down there. It's great. Okay, so we have that. So maybe we can bring this up just a little bit like that. And for the next one, let's add a delay and maybe bring down our mix. I'll also cut some of those lows out and some of those highs. So something like that, and then now we want to add a little bit of reverb. And here's kind of a cool trick. So we load up the reverb, and maybe we can bring up a little bit of the sidechain, not too much. But what I want to do is once we hit a note, we're essentially already hearing that reverb 20 milliseconds later, but it's still pretty quick. So if we increase this quite a bit to almost maybe like 300, then we get that delay. So we have our note, it's going to wait 282.5 milliseconds, and then we're going to start hearing our reverb. So really drastic is like if we did something like almost, what, a second? Then we hear the reverb. So that's a little drastic, but let's bring this down maybe a little bit under sub 300 or so. And maybe bring down the decay a bit as well, and maybe some high cut too. So it's almost like once we have this set up this way, we can hear the direct notes of what we're playing, but we also hear that lush reverb in the background, and they can both exist at the same time. It gives it this space, and it's almost like the reverb is so nice and lush that our brains don't really notice, like, there's reverb on here. Maybe yes, but at the same time, it's almost making more sense, if that makes any sort of sense. Because listen to it without it. It's dry with exception to the delay, but as soon as we turn on this reverb, then we have something kind of like that, which is pretty cool. So in this case, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. Let's start routing this to an ARP. So let's click ARP 1 for both of these oscillators. And I just randomly click the Encore kit in, which one is this here? If we go back, this is going to be an Ambition and then Encore kit, which is actually a cool sounding kit for this one. Turn on our drum sequencer and then let's play some notes. Like, it just sounds, I don't know, just interesting. And if you're going for the, maybe the ARP sound, kind of something like that way down here, since it's so low, it does have that cool texture to it, but it also might be a little bit difficult to differentiate the pitch, so it might just sound all low end. So in that case, what we can do is maybe go back to the first oscillator and maybe go to our voicing and turn one of our voices on and bring it up an octave, see how that sounds. Or we can go to the other one as well and do the same thing. So here, oscillator 2, let's turn this on and bring this up to about 12. And maybe we can even just change the tuning slightly on both of these, something like that here. So yeah, this one is a lot of fun to play. And in this case, what we can do is we can also do stuff with filtering, for example. So we are doing a lot of processing on this effect here. So if we did something with our main filter, if we just muted our drums real quick. Like, we do get a cool filter sound, but sometimes I think it's almost kind of nice to do it post here. So at the end of our chain, we could do this and see what it sounds like. So that's what's really cool about Avenger. We can put on a filter module and we can essentially pick whatever filter that we want. So in this case, we're using like an Antelope Pass 12. So maybe let's go ahead and try that as well. See what that would sound like. So there's that filter sweep, and then there's this one here. So even down here at the bottom, we still hear that high frequency of the distortion. And I don't necessarily want that. So in this case, I'm probably not going to touch this filter, but essentially use this one as it's going to be smoother, and it's going to happen after all of this processing that we already just did. And that might be cool to add a little bit of resonance as well. So definitely kind of cool. So how would that sound like if we started incorporating our drums back into this? Okay, so definitely pretty cool. So now as a final thing, sometimes I always like checking how this would sound, but let's right click here and then maybe for this guy, we can do something like a mini chain. And again, since we're using the sequencer already inside Avenger, let's go from sync instead of first drum, let's go to the bass drum. So on our drum sequencer, every time this drum hits, so every time we hear a kick drum, it's going to do a little bit of sidechaining. So let's see how that would sound. Definitely pretty cool. So in that sense, we get something pretty cool. And we also hear those delays pumping as well, which obviously makes it even cooler. So we have something like that. That might be a little bit too much here on the mix. So what's nice about this is we can maybe bring this down to 0, maybe use a macro. So I'm going to use macro 3 because maybe the filter or something else could be in these first two. But for now, let's go to macro 3 and drag and drop this here and maybe just give it the full amount. So this is now going to be the sidechain. So let's type that in and let's see how that sounds. Right? Like, how can you not move yourself to that? And maybe now I'm kind of hearing these delays a little too less. Maybe we can increase this a little bit more. What would that sound like? Maybe increase the feedback as well. That might be kind of cool. And also maybe just a little bit more mix. Yeah, so definitely a fun patch to play. That's the thing with Avenger. It's just you make these cool things and it's just a lot of fun to play. And then you're like, oh my God, that's right. I have to write a song with this thing. And then you go down that process. But essentially, this is kind of a cool technique to make these kind of sounds and just have a good time. So hopefully you learned something. Check out the shaper. It's really cool. And you can also change the algorithm. That's one thing we should check out before we go, because soft, the default one is probably, I want to say it's probably my favorite, but there are also some really good ones. I think heavy was kind of cool for this patch as well. Like, that is just nasty. But yeah, there you go. So experiment with this, try to make some cool patches with it, and have a good time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.